We are in some kind of war. I don't know that you'd call it a civil war. We did a poll on this YouTube channel, and most people said civil strife. Civil strife period. I mean, the assassination of Charlie Kirk. We've had, I think, 4 terror attacks in 4 weeks. Now, I do think it's important and fair to point out that the attack on the church just the other day in Michigan likely was a man who was a Trump supporter. At least that's what it looks like. The question, however, as it pertains to all of these things, is the underlying motivation, the ideology behind it. Charlie Kirk's assassin seems to have been motivated by liberal worldview. And this makes sense when you look at the data showing that liberal worldview is a very isolated and small bubble. We can see the same thing with the anti-ICE attack, motivated by liberal worldview. Now, this man who attacked the church, no idea. It's certainly not motivated by a conservative Christian worldview because it was an attack on a church, which seems odd. But to the war and this question. Mamdani pledges to spend $100 million more for free lawyers to help illegal immigrants facing deportation. I have questions. Why are American taxpayers being forced to do labor to cover the costs of lawyers for non-citizens who broke our laws and came here illegally? Answer that. You comment below right now. Everybody who's listening, I ask you, comment, because I know what a lot of you are going to say, and I'm curious your thoughts on war. But let me tell you what I mean. I just did a segment talking about the troops, they're saying, that are descending on Oregon, California. But the previous segment was largely about federal authorities in Chicago. And in it, I made the point over and over again. I do not want to live in a world where masked law enforcement, armed, helmets, sunglasses, say, "Can I see your ID, sir?" I don't want to live in that world. I want to be able to go to the Portillo's in Chicago and get me, ooh, man, I want to get a dipped beef with sweet peppers, maybe some jardinera. We call them hot peppers. Some people call them that. I want to enjoy life, man. But you know what? I grew up in Chicago, and I can tell you this. I'd rather these guys say, "How's it going there, buddy? You got an ID on you?" And I'll be like, "Yeah, what seems to be the problem, officer?" And he'll be like, "We're just checking everything out, making sure everything is okay." And I'll be like, "All right, here's my ID." On that, I'm not going to answer any direct questions or anything. What I tell the guys, I really do appreciate all the cops out there, all the feds, all the CBP guys. Man, I'm grateful you're in Chicago. Please do what you can, make it safe. And that's my response to those guys. I appreciate it. I really do. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to enjoy a dipped beef. You know what that means? I take the bread, put the beef in it, dip the whole thing in gravy. Okay, I don't eat the bread. Okay. But I'm saying I can eat that in peace because you guys are here. Now, what does it mean in the context of this $100 million for lawyers for non-citizens? Zoran Mamdani pledged in his campaign, he's pledging now, he's going to fight to defend his people, his community. But these are non-citizens. These are not Americans. They're not a part of our community. They're an external force. And he is going to make you do labor in New York. You're going to work. A percentage of the work you do will finance lawyers for non-citizens. War. But let me explain. Why would we tolerate federal law enforcement agents walking around wearing masks, right? Because of the criminals, because of the invasive force, that is trying to take from us our resources, to bring in non-citizens to vote in our elections. They've tried this several times, even in New York. And so I say this, as we're dealing with crime escalating, these murders, these illegal immigrants, we don't have to tolerate this. Why would we tolerate these police? Because in war, it's what happens. Abraham Lincoln, I mention this all the time, arrested a third of the Maryland legislature for having sympathies for the Confederacy because Maryland was a slave state. And D.C., in order to get there, you had to go through Maryland. So he also suspended habeas corpus. He had no authority to do so. They argue now, because of this precedent set by Abraham Lincoln, the president can suspend habeas corpus and then seek retroactive approval. Isn't that crazy? But that's where crisis brings you. So where we are right now with people like Mamdani is, we call it extenuating circumstances, I guess, war powers. I made the argument that Trump should use war powers. I should clarify. I said Trump is a wartime president. I didn't come up with this. Will Chamberlain, I believe, was talking about it. What that means is we are not dealing with a peaceful country where we have minor disagreements. We're dealing with Democrat. Look at this. Let me show you this one. 3 Democrats mourn convicted cop killer Assata Shakur and refuse to honor Charlie Kirk. That's where we're at. Assad Shakur, a terrorist, is their hero. Charlie Kirk is ours. You know why Charlie Kirk is the right choice. They'll claim otherwise. When Zoran Mamdani says that he's going to give $100 million of your dollars to non-citizens, what he is telling you is that you, the American people who have elected a government with a principal focus on immigration, you are not my people, and we will fight you. Here's a story from the New York Post. Taxpayers will pick up an additional $100 million tab for illegal immigrants facing deportation. Democrat Zoran Mamdani pledges, calling it a cornerstone of his campaign. 400,000 of our residents are right now in urgent risk of deportation, the socialist lamented on MSNBC's The Weekend, adding fewer than 200 of them received access to free lawyers last year. The city's 2026 budget passed in June already includes $54.5 million to fight deportation orders in court on the taxpayers' dime, more than any other major American city, Mayor Eric Adams said. Well, he bowed out too. Mamdani aims to blow that amount out of the water, reiterating a promise buried in his campaign platform under his Trump-proofing NYC tenet. A cornerstone of our campaign is to increase funding for those very legal defense services by more than $100 million so that we can ensure we're taking every step to keep New Yorkers safe. They are not New Yorkers. These people are not from this country, and they have every right to apply, in my opinion, legally. But to come here illegally, violate our laws, spit in our face, take our resources, rip Gen Z's opportunity from their hands, they are not New Yorkers. And I'm offended by this idea. And I lived in New York too. And there are reasons why I left that place. So what do you do? What do you do when the front runner for the mayoral race in New York is outright saying, you, American people, are our enemies? Let me stress that again. Zoran Mamdani says, you, the American people, you voted for Donald Trump, popular vote winner. We said enough. And he said, war. His words, not ours. No, he didn't literally say the word war. He said, I am going to protect my people from you. Does anyone understand what time it is in this country? There is a multicultural democracy and a constitutional republic occupying the same space. And we know which came here first, and we know which has the legal authority, the constitutional republic. Zoran Mamdani represents people who aren't from here, who came here illegally and break our laws. And we tell these people even right now, leave, apply legally. You can come back in. For what reason and what logic did it ever make sense that a person could kick your door into your home, sleep in your room, and we have to let him stay? Well, I got one for you. Here's the liberal worldview. From Legal Advice UK, 2 men stole my house. Police say it's a civil matter. I love this. They locked it. You can't even read. There you go. About 2 weeks ago, 2 men forced themselves into my house, took my keys, and locked me out. I called the police, who turned up. The men claimed they were tenants, and the police won't do anything. They say it's a civil matter. I have absolutely no idea who these men are. I fought them as they tried to force themselves in, but ended up thrown outside. I've been staying at my parents' for 2 weeks now. I'm currently paying a mortgage on a house I don't have access to, and the police won't do anything. Somebody please help. I have absolutely no idea what to do. Would my best bet be to get a few friends, force our way back in, and take it? Based in England. Certainly not based, but now I don't know if that's a real story. Maybe. But we've seen many stories similar to it, where in the United States you have squatters take over people's homes, and then people go, what do I do? You know what I really love about this? These Democrat-controlled cities. This is what they do. You'll be on vacation. You'll come back. There'll be people living in your house. And then they'll call the cops and say, there's people in my house. And when the cops show up, they go, I'm a tenant. And they'll have a pre-made bill of some sort. And the cop will go, nothing I can do about it. Goodbye. Your home is literally invaded and taken from you. What I love about this is that people don't understand what time it is. Regular normies don't understand what's going on. This happens. There's a famous story in New York where a woman inherited a house from her like, I think her mom died, and then squatters took it over. And so she was like, this is my inheritance. Not anymore. It's gone. And that's what Zoran Mamdani is doing. Taking your birthright. This lady was Latina. She's not a white lady. Calm down your racism, Democrats. You know, I wouldn't call the cops and be like, well, gosh darn, I believe we have a civil matter here, officer. I'd say these men violently invaded my home. Help, help. But these people, they don't know, they don't call lawyers, they don't know what to say. And so the lawyers are like, well, I guess you're out of luck. That's New York law. This is what we're dealing with right now. Squatters taking from us what our parents built to give us a better life. A society that tolerates this is a society that will collapse because even the migrants will not be able to protect what they have. The American dream will die. That's what Democrats have been building for some time. So what can I say other than you reap what you sow, Democrats? But more to the point, why we're at war. Zoran Mamdani will steal from the coffers of American citizens to pay for people who aren't from here. Yeah, we're being ransacked. Just because it's happening through a legal process, so dumb. Back in the day, we didn't have that legal process. How did you get money from somebody? You beat them up and took it. Now you can just go into their digital account and take it. That's what he's doing. Before you even get your paycheck, they take it. You know, you pay your taxes and nope, before you even get your taxes, he's taking it from you. And he's funding people who have come to seize and steal from you. Gen Z. All the Gen Zers in New York who can't afford to live are sitting there being like, we need socialism because I don't have an apartment. Meanwhile, the Democrats are sitting there laughing, being like, we gave away what your parents built for you. Okay. Well, this is where we are. And that means if Trump has to deploy CBP and feds into these cities, I say thank you, officers. What trying times we live in. The question is, who will win in the end? It's a tough question because Democrats are insane. And I hear from conservatives all the time, man, if it ever went to a civil war, the left is going to regret it. And I was talking to some dude the other day. I was like, yeah, but these fat leftists, it's going to be insurgent terroristic violence. And if the stress is too much, the economy breaks, they will take control. Just read about the Spanish Civil War. The right, they won. They said the commies are bad. They get in politics. They sit on their hands. The leftists, they had, what did I say? I said the right. Because the Republicans, the nationalists were the right, and the Republicans were the left. The left takes back over and immediately says it's time to lock out the right. So Franco was like, nah. Will that happen here? I don't know. Read about the French Revolution, too. Crazy stuff. I'm going to wrap it up there. Smash the like button, share the show with everyone. You know, stay tuned. More to come throughout the day. We're in an undisclosed location. I think most of you know where we are. You probably can guess, right? It's going to be a fun show tonight. Lots to talk about. Thanks for hanging out. We'll see you on the next segment.